Take your microphone off or
Yep.
get out of
See
it.
Colin?
We're kind of old guys, so we're trying to keep up.
It's not me.
We gotta make it.
Right?
I'm muted. I don't know who's echoing. All right, clerk's here, so we can get started. We'll say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Goff here.
Here.
Drummond.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Brady.
Here.
Minot.
Here.
Everybody is here and present, so the reason we've all come back together here is we hopefully gathered a little more information concerning the Work-Share program. And how we want to, if we want to implement it and what we want to do with it. I guess I'd open up to the board. Anybody have any questions, anything they can add at this time over what we were last time?
What, if any, I mean, from finances perspective, what are our losses anticipated? I know you can't know, but anticipated between now and year end.
In regards to what?
General fund.
Have not looked at that yet.
I'm going to assume we're going to lose what would be the first quarter payment for secondary road patrol. The October to end of December, I'm going to assume we're going to lose that. Now that's not all that much, it's less than $10,000, but I'm going to assume that we're going to lose practically all of our revenue sharing that would start October 1st. I should have brought that in with me, but I'm going to assume for next year, I think they'll pay us our Marine, because that's a 2020, and they've budgeted for that, and I think that money is already spoken for and set aside. I may be wrong, Scott, but that's my take on it. I don't think we're going to have next year, starting the 1st of October, I don't think we're going to have any veterans monies. And if the millage goes through, as we certainly all hope it does, that's not an issue. But nonetheless, it's one more place where there would be no money coming in. For me, that's part of the driving force.
Those are all anticipated losses that we are thinking will happen. I mean, so the current ones are what? We've got certainly reduced in revenue through the court system, certainly reduced revenues from the sheriff's department. Those are actual, those are all definitely reduced.
I mean, our goal in our finance committee meeting that we set from last meeting to this Friday is to sit down and look where we're at the end of the first two quarters. And that's what our goal is for this Friday. But we already know that there are some losses already. Plus, there's anticipated losses that could number. We don't know what they can number.
I mean, just a rough look over the thing, there's probably 150,000 less revenue this time this year than there was this time last year. That's across all departments, everything. Cheryl, have you got any rough guess on that? Or take a look? Does that number sound like a ballpark? Didn't even look at it. All right. And then if you throw in whatever your anticipated stuff is, I mean, that's a guess, but yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
it's going to start with the state's 2021 budget, which is our last quarter.
Right. So I know the board, we had talked a little bit about, or there was some comments about, are we big enough to do this? Is this something that, we're not a big enough county, this isn't gonna save enough money, so Crawford County, I emailed the board, I didn't get it out to everybody, so Crawford County did this, actually 2 weeks ago. I think their first week to certify is on Monday. So they're a $5 million budget, about 50 employees. Went very well for them. They got to certify on Monday, so it's hard to say. They have actually, I think he has 8 different plans, as you saw in that article, of how they're doing that, and who is and who isn't getting different things. They did not include their sheriff's department. The sheriff was not, didn't feel comfortable doing that. He's already short staffed, so didn't. So there are a lot of similarities to where we are at and what our county is. Questions that I asked him. Their deputy elected officials did qualify for it. Elected officials do not. Salaried employees do, if they take a 10% pay cut. That
10 or up to 60?
Yeah,
10 and 60.
Yeah, I think it's 10 if you start at the 20% number. So if an elected or if wants to take the 10% pay cut, then they can get the unemployment and then the $600 government subsidy or the Fed's subsidy. And through that process, finally found another good contact. She emailed me right back. He gave me their contact, who they said she worked very well with them. Unless she has emailed me back in the last few minutes, said she can talk with us on Friday at 8:30. Yeah, she didn't, and I sent her back that we actually have a meeting today at 1, thinking maybe she would say, well.
Where's she from, Craig?
She's from unemployment. She works actually in the unemployment division. So certainly, and during all this, and so that's the information I have to bring. Those were some of the questions that I remember.
No, I mean, I reached out to Michigan Works, Mary Sue, who got me in touch with Colin Hoffmeyer, who works with Michigan Works and is really up to speed on this work share program, and I think he's joined the meeting too.
Colin, are you out there?
I'm here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you for coming. So you heard a little bit of what we've talked about. Can you shed a little more light on how this works and what we would be doing for this?
Yeah. So I'll forewarn you all, this is not very riveting stuff, but it is good information. But nonetheless, it's not too exciting. So I'll kind of start at the beginning. And I apologize if you already know this, but just for the sake of everybody being on the same page. The WorkShare program has been a program that's been around for quite a while through the UIA department, but it has been terribly overlooked over the last few years. And COVID-19 really pressured the state to kind of dust off, the WorkShare plan ability and really update it to overcome the challenges that we're running into. And the reason I say that is because if you look at WorkShare at a glimpse, you wonder, how is this a benefit? Why not just have somebody file for underemployment? File for unemployment, just say your wages are being cut or your hours are being cut, and go after unemployment. So that is commonly a good way to do it. But with WorkShare, it allows most companies to bring back those who may be on unemployment collecting $600 a week through the CARES Act, which ends up being $25 an hour. Our companies are having a real hard time convincing them to come back to work. Really, why would you be in a hurry to forfeit that money? So the WorkShare program has been updated. It's a way for employees to retain their workforce while allowing their workers to take advantage of the funds that so many of others have taken advantage of. Typically, it's a program that can be used for 26 weeks, but under coronavirus circumstances is allowed for 52 weeks. It has to be a minimum of 10% reduction in hours in wages by 10%. It can be as much as 60. They have waived the requirement that businesses must be established for, I think, 12 months. They've also waived the requirement that you have to be current with your balances with UIA. And then they've also made it so that part-time workers are eligible to be on a plan as well. I believe under normal circumstances, I think that they're very rare to get a part-time person to be on there. Because here the catch is that everybody on a plan, they have to be individuals who would have been eligible for their own unemployment claim had they filed for unemployment. So if you look at someone who is brand new, just got hired, and if they were to be laid off, chances are they may not be eligible for unemployment because they would not have made enough wages in the previous quarter to qualify. So there is that. You won't be able to have somebody certified on a work share plan if they would not have been otherwise eligible for their own unemployment claim. And as I go, feel free to jump in. I'm just going to kind of go down my note sheet. I want to provide an example, and it really helped Crawford County understand what they were getting into because our business services liaison down there played a role in helping them understand it. So if we have a worker who typically makes $1,000 a week, and they're informed that they're going to be reduced by 30% their hours. So say now they're going to take home roughly $700 a week with the new reduction. So the employer could submit a work share plan, including that worker. So that worker would then be getting $700 from working, but then they would get 30% of what their unemployment claim would be. So typically, if you made $1,000 a week, you would max out unemployment's benefit scale. So you would be eligible for $362 a week. That's the max you'll ever get on unemployment. So what the state will do is they'll take your 362, which would be your max benefit. They'll take 30% of that, which is the hours that you were reduced by, and they'll give you $108 a week. So you'll get your $700 for working, $108 for your unemployment, and you'll get your $600 federal payment through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Act. So a person who would typically be getting $962 would now be getting $1,462. They don't have to go through the struggle of sitting on hold for their entire life to talk to somebody through unemployment. So that is the biggest draw right now to that. The tough part is, I was telling Dan on the phone earlier, it is a big commitment on the employer side. When we talked to the state initially, when they made these changes, they forewarned us about 10 times on the call. They said it is a lot on the employer. So it's similar to like a Verizon or an AT&T cellular plan. You have a plan that you can change and modify, but there's only one account master. They won't take a phone call. If you're a worker who you're receiving benefits through your employer's work share plan, they can't talk to you. They won't share any information. It is all on one person. It can be a full-time job or a part-time job as far as how much work it requires based on how many plans you have and how extensive it is. A plan has to have at least two employees. You can have multiple plans, but each one has to have at least two. And within each plan, the workers in the plan have to have the same reduction in hours. So you can't have one plan with 4 workers. 2 of them are reduced by 30% hours. 2 of them are 10%. The whole plan has to have workers that are all hitting the same reduction. If you have 6 people, you want 2 of them that are going to be reduced by 10 hours, 2 of them by 40, then you would do 2 plans. You get to dictate what your, in quotes, shifts are. When you talk to unemployment, they'll say, let's talk about your shifts that will be affected. So if you have, an accounting department, 2 accountants, you can say that they're a shift that will be affected by a 30% reduction. That's one plan. If you have another group over here that will be reduced by 20%, then that would be another plan. The best way I've done this is because I'm sure you guys have heard the horror stories, people on hold for weeks and weeks and weeks trying to get through unemployment. The best way to do it is to go through the online system. It sounds like you guys have a contact already. I'd hold on to them and never let them go because that is a very fortunate thing to have as a contact at that level. I sent you a link shortly before this meeting. I apologize for not getting it out to you sooner, but it will recap everything I'm saying to you, and it'll also give you the step-by-step instruction on how to get the ball rolling through the online portal, which again, I've found to work better for employers so far. I do know that if a candidate has been pursuing their own unemployment claim while their employer is doing this, it will override their individual claim. That may not be applicable in the situation. I just wanted to say that as well. They can't get both. It's one or the other. Anybody have any questions? I could go on for a while, but I know it's not that exciting.
You're kind of reaffirming most of the things we've heard, so keep going. If somebody pops up, we'll butt in.
Okay. Wanted to again give you another example of why this would be a better option than having those who will be affected by a wage or hour reduction doing this rather than their individual claim. Interesting thing, if a person files for unemployment and based on their wages for the last quarter, they max out the scale of $362. If they go back to work, it's a common misbelief that unemployment will pay you the difference from what you're laid off from working, and that's not true. If you make 1.5 times more than your benefit amount, so if you make 1.5 times more than $362 a week, you're not going to get anything. You'll get $0 from unemployment. So really, if you're only going to be working 10% of your normal workday, then yeah, maybe unemployment claim would be your best option. But if you're going to be working more than 10% of your hours during a week, it's not even a close call. Workshare is going to be the best option. The pros is that as a worker, I don't have to deal with the stress of going through unemployment. I don't have to get on the back burner for weeks. My employer takes the burden of that, and I'm taken care of through my employer. I don't have to worry about it. The plan can be modified at any time, so you're not locked in. Again, it's like an AT&T or Verizon account. The account manager can log into the unemployment website with a login. You'll need your FAIN number. You can set up an account. It's really easy. Or you could call and just say, hey, my workers on plan 2 are going to go up to 60% of the normal hours. I need to update my plan. And they'll go ahead and take care of that. But again, only one account master can do that. And it can be a lot of work, especially if your work demands are fluctuating throughout the year that you want to do this. You can end it at any time. There's no obligation to keep it for 52 weeks. I was telling Dan earlier, the benefits of the $600, that will end very soon. From what I'm hearing, it could be mid-July, could be the end of July, but that is ending soon. And though that is going to be a good thing for a majority of our employers because they've been having a heck of a time getting people back, the benefit from Workshare will drop dramatically by $600. But even without the $600 benefit, it's still a better option than individual claims, especially if you're working with multiple people that are going to be in the same situation, because they don't have to spend their time on the phone and they're potentially going to make more still. So that's pretty much what I had. Like I said, I sent the link out to Dan, so you guys can feel free to take a look at that. At the bottom of the page I sent you, there's a couple real life scenarios where the program has benefited it. So you can see how it compares and contrasts to your guys' situation. Crawford County was very, very pleased. They did have some issues, though. They had some issues with having some questions that weren't answered until their deadline to certify. But again, like I said earlier, they will retro date whatever benefits you're eligible for. So if it's a case of they didn't get back to you in time and you feel like you missed out on a week's worth of claiming, they're not going to hold you accountable for them not getting back to you because of how busy they are. They'll retroly take care of you.
Very good. Thank you, Colin. All right. Any questions? Board questions?
Would you be able to give any insight on if an employee were to take a vacation day during one of the weeks of when they were on furlough, does that exempt them from receiving their 20% or whatever percentage they were going to get from unemployment before? Could you hear me or no?
Yeah, I did. I was. So I can't say yes or no either way on that because so many things that I would typically say absolutely they would not count. So many things have been waived because of this. I've seen a lot of things get approved and go through that under normal circumstances. I don't think it would work. But with this latest order that she's signed, a lot of the stipulations are waived. in that case, I think they would still be eligible. That's
Okay.
my honest opinion on it. I don't sign my name on that saying that it's confirmed, but I think they would
Sure.
be eligible. Like I said, so many of the stipulations have been waived.
So I think that when Paul and I talked, he had said, as long as you don't exceed whatever hours you're set at. I mean, if you're set at 4 days a week and you want to take 4 days vacation, you're good. You'll still get your unemployment, but you can't take 5 days of vacation. You only take 4
No, because
days.
then you'd be being paid for 6 days.
Right.
And again, last thing, if things happen on the fly like that, that account master can go online and make adjustments on the go. So you're not locked into anything. You have some flexibility with this program.
All right. Anyone else? Anybody from the public?
On average, how many hours would it require to do the recording?
He just said a full-time employee could be.
Employee.
Yeah, I mean, depending on size, right? I mean, it depends how many employees, right? I mean, yeah, full-time employee for how many?
Yeah. So certainly, maybe not literally a full-time job, but I would say if you have somebody that has a full workload as it is, this would be quite an undertaking, because the quicker this person's available to correspond with the state, if any issues arise and any changes that need to be sent in, the less room for delay there's going to be. And I know in the Crawford County situation, they did have to shift some things around to free up enough room on someone's plate to take this on. In the state, I'll tell you right from the bat, make sure this person understands the amount of work it takes. It will take, probably a good day's worth solid of just going back and forth, making sure you have everything right.
Do you know how much time that person in Crawford County is putting in on this a week? Any rough idea?
I can't be 100% certain. My liaison in Crawford County would know, but I know that the day before they're certifying, they're doing this all day. Because we've gotten calls from them on, hey, I got this question, I can't get a hold of anybody, and we did the whole map of trying to get a hold of this person, to find out an answer for them. So I know that at the end of their weeks, the person that we're working with is inundated completely with this, because oftentimes it requires so-and-so, you gave me the wrong social, or so-and-so, your address is not matching what's on your driver's license. Because when you first start this plan, I guess I should have said this earlier, it's front loaded with a lot of work, because you're essentially building this Excel sheet with everybody that's going to be on this, and you need everything from everybody that they would typically report when they're trying to do a claim. So I get why they only want one account master. I mean, you're dealing with, the sensitive information of everybody that's going to be on this plan, and you're seeing their wages potentially too. So I would say someone's going to probably have to treat this like a part-time job.
This is supposed to have been helping because of the COVID situation. Is there a minimum of either layoff or furloughed or anything else that had to take place in order for an entity, governmental entity, to apply for these funds, for this?
Nope.
approach?
When you file, if you basically say in any way are the actions you're taking in any way connected to the global pandemic, you're going to be eligible for that CARES Act. And same thing for the job seeker. Right now, if you're laid off and it was just a business decision, not because you have COVID-19 or whatever, you're going to be getting the CARES Act right now. I've seen some things that weren't really connected at all, and they got it. It's more work for unemployment to really decipher that right now, in my opinion, than to just, yep, you're laid off during these times, CARES Act money.
Question's got to be asked.
You just did.
No, I didn't. I skirted. Hoped that.
Any other questions?
All right, if an entity, Jones County, didn't lay off anybody, they were at home, some of them working, some of them not working, but getting paid full pay, do they qualify for this program? Does Jones County qualify for this program?
if their workers were technically getting paid the same as if they were 100% working, which it sounds like they are, they would not be eligible. There has to be a documented loss of wages.
There's the question.
They would look at
Thank you.
potentially look at wage record and see that there wasn't a decline.
We're qualified.
So we did not lay anybody off in the last 3 months.
But if you're considering reducing hours even now, you'd still be eligible.
Right. So even though we didn't lay anybody off the last 3 months,
Yeah.
even though we kept paying people, we reduced hours, but we continued paying them. We didn't lay off anybody. We're still qualified on this for the work.
Yeah. You don't have to show a history of having already done something because of COVID-19. You could
Okay.
just say, according to your plan, going forward, we're reducing our hours. And if your reduction can be you're going to be eligible for work share just by reducing your hours of staff. The CARES Act portion of that may be based on, okay, you reduced your hours. Was that anyway correlated to COVID-19 pandemic, whatever? And you can be a secondary affected by that, or, you can
We
stretch
were
it.
affected, guaranteed.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, and back at the beginning of this, the strong push that I heard, and I think we all heard, was don't lay people off. Do whatever you can, send them home, but don't lay them off. That was I believe that was the push.
Yeah.
Well,
Back.
we were being prepared just in case we had to come back for
Whatever.
emergency
Yeah.
if we laid them off.
You probably heard that, right, Colin? I mean, most counties did not lay off. We were all advised, do not.
Yeah, we were told the same thing, Dan. Mary Sue had never had intentions of doing that, but the frustrating part is programs like the Paycheck Protection Plan through the
Right.
Small Business Development Association administration, excuse me. They had a program that would actually reimburse you essentially for paying your workers to stay on. But the thing is, if you laid them off, it's like, okay, well, I wish I knew about that already. So there was a big push from that side saying, oh, don't lay them off because you're going to be eligible for some of the SBA programs. And then the
Right.
unemployment comes out with this, hey, how would you like to make almost $30 an hour for not working? We're really, really struggling right now. And this is off topic, but I think it's something to share. We've been seeing a trend of companies asking, what do we do? Our workers are refusing to come back. I mean, what rights do we have in this fight? And right now, they don't got a lot of fight right now. With the latest order she signed, it's very edgy. If you, discipline a worker for not coming back, they have a lot of rights right now.
Would you like to give a calculated guess on whether or not they're going to extend the $600?
I would say no. That's just my thing. No.
Okay.
Not with the schools, not with the deficit we're looking at. I don't think so. I mean, even some of our programs at Michigan Works, we're kind of holding our breath because we're like, oh my God, this unemployment thing really put us into a hole here. So I don't think so, but who knows?
Okay.
Crazy.
I'd like to hear I'd like to hear it. What do you think?
That they would or would not?
Yes.
They would extend.
Oh, you think they would?
No, I'm asking, you're saying you'd like to have them extend?
No,
She wants your opinion.
I wanted
Oh,
your
what, my opinion?
Yeah, you.
I think it's a deficit for someone to be able to stay home, not work, do what they want to, and get extra money. It blows my mind and it destroys my sense of moral conduct or work ethic
Oh, yeah.
to hell in a handbasket, right? I mean, how can you, in good faith?
Well, anyway.
So on that note,
Sorry about that.
Thanks, Colin.
all right, I think we're covered. Anybody else have any other questions? Nobody?
Do we have the ability to call him if we have more
I think you
questions?
probably got a number.
I have your phone number, so I can.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Colin.
thanks everybody. Good luck, and I look forward to hoping this works out for you guys.
Thank you. All right. A couple other questions. So I didn't have her, but she did it for me after we talked. So Aaron did give me some numbers just from that union. If each one of those employees were reduced at
How
a
much?
20%, correct? 20% rate through the end of the year, it would be a savings on that payroll of $26,024. That's on 9 employees, so that,
Can you say that again?
$26,024.
So that's one day then, 20% is one day. What's 7 hours then, right? Is it 35-hour week?
Whatever 20% comes out to,
That's
7
7%.
yeah.
That's 7%.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 hours.
Yep. You'd have to do the math on for the salaried employees, whether or not, how they would want to do that. If they could participate with the percentage, I didn't figure those out. 10% off of I don't know, what's this? You doing math there, Cheryl, or not? No?
Negative.
Well, I mean, it's public, I think 45,000 is the number. Let's take 40 as an example for like, that's what the elected official might get, 45,000.
Okay.
So if you do 10%, it's 4,500 divided by 52.
90.
Might wanna drop it down to 30 something.
Yeah, because that's the top.
That's
36.
high.
Yeah.
36.
41, 40. We got from 36.
What do you think, Joe?
38.
30, I'd go with 30, 38, 39.
30. How about 40? That's even numbers. We'll be high, but 40 divided by 52 weeks. That's 769 a week. You have to take a 10%. That'd be 7690 a week reduction at 10%.
You get half that back from unemployment.
No, they get,
No,
You
Well,
get
10% of 362 would be 36
they don't
bucks.
get the max, it would be what they would be qualified for. And saying they didn't meet the $1,000, they're down at $750, they would only get according to what that was the max at $1,000.
Well,
Earning $1,000.
Yeah, 362 is the max, the unemployment max. If you're making that much, you're going to hit them. I don't know what the
No.
number is to hit max.
30%.
No,
You're going
you don't
after
have
two
to earn
different
1,000 to make the 362.
no, heck no, you
No.
only
You just have to make more than
28,000.
362.
About
Yeah.
25, 28,000 is all.
Yeah,
Now, if you're getting the max, say 30,000, it's.
30,000 would get you the max
Oh,
unemployment. Yeah.
100%.
So you
it
get-
would be 20% of, 20 or 30% of that?
20% of that, that'd be $72.
So
So
you
we
take,
start 10, let's get our numbers straight here.
Minus the 30.
We're going 10% for what you said for elected.
they have to take a 10% reduction in wage,
Right.
but then they get.
That would get equal.
20%
No.
back on unemployment.
They would get 10% of that 362 as the equal share.
That's how I think it
They're
is.
21.98 an hour. The 40,000 person
Okay.
is 21.98 an hour.
But it's salary.
So I'm not sure about if it's reduction is equal to
362.
10% reduction in pay is the same, or I don't know if that
Yeah,
works
that's
that
right
way
to
with the
me.
salaried. So if we went to 20% as with everybody else, then we'll just keep it that way, 20% on a $40,000 a year job is,
Right? They took a 10% pay cut.
$294.
Let's do 20.
$294 a pay period.
that's the cut,
The loss, the individual loss.
200 and how much?
294.
294. So then they're gonna get 20% back off of the 362,
$72.
so $72 back.
No, plus 2 weeks though, be 144.
Oh, you
2
did,
days.
you did 2 weeks?
Yeah, she
Yes.
didn't pay.
Oh.
I did pay period.
So 290 what?
So it's $150.
294.
294 minus, what was the
144.
144? It's $150 less, but then you get the 600,
Right, so it's 450 more.
so you're gonna get $450 increase on a 20% pay cut on elected official.
For 3 weeks.
Or on a-
going in, for possibly
on a-
3 weeks.
Whatever, on a, not elected official.
Yeah.
And from what we understand, deputies are eligible.
I'm sorry, it's 307, not 294,
Well, it's there.
but it's close, but
So just in Lauren's union,
Aaron's union.
Aaron, sorry,
Yep,
just in Aaron's
it's
union.
Lawrence too.
Lauren and Aaron's union. The local Lauren and
They
Aaron.
have this union.
This is through the end of the year, because that's what we had talked about. If we get them
What was it? It was 27. what?
$26,024.
And per salaried person that's at 40,000, give or take, per person, for the end of the year, it's going to be just under $3,700 per person. 36.93.
times, well, I mean, is everybody gonna, 3, 4,
Adam, did you check anything
5.
about the county part of it? Did you check? with-
Yeah, I can bring that up in a minute.
Okay.
probably 5.
We have more than 5 salary employees here, don't we?
How many?
Just 1, 2, 3.
All right, let's say it's 5, just for the sake of argument. How much was it per, you said? 39
$3,700.
something?
30, call it 37. It's
3,700?
36.93. Call it 3,700.
15. So I guess what we're looking at here is we're gonna benefit
$50,000,
50,000?
50 or 60.
something in that
It
ballpark.
depends what other, that's only the one union too. So,
Well, how many,
No.
well, you're not doing anything with the police union because we're not touching.
Well,
them. I mean,
I thought they indicated there were 2 people.
Cooks.
Cooks, yeah.
Yeah, maybe the
One
2
cook and one
cooks.
administrative.
Well, the 2 cooks is the only thing I'd heard. I don't know if Scott's can hear us.
Scott,
might be in
The last
middle
time he
of the
spoke, it was only the cooks.
Aaron, that's one unit.
last time he spoke to me, it was a cook and administrative.
That's if your office
Yeah,
in
and our office
particular
is, ours
could
is out. No,
participate, yeah.
our unit cannot do it, no. So that's cutting that 60,000 right there.
And that's also 24 pay, or 24 weeks, not 20, you say 22?
We're not cutting the EMS that I'm aware of.
No.
I mean, those are the only other.
Well,
2
that's a
unions.
separate budget.
But I'm just saying,
Oh.
we're talking union employees pretty much. Yours is it for what we can do.
Figured out.
It's always us.
Pretty much.
Well, I'm just,
So, yeah.
What about the courts?
Yeah, that's not including them at all.
The courts thought they could do it.
Would you?
But they can be, depending on what their
I-
workload is.
Well, I think we need to.
So there's a
consider
union
partial.
there.
But you could, I did it by office, so if you subtracted Brooke and Kim,
We were not.
it should be fairly,
No,
Mm-hmm.
You're just clumping us together, units. so.
but there's only 2 union employees that I'm aware of in the court union. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
So how many full-time, non-salary employees are there?
Full-time, not in this building.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's in the courts.
one, part-time, the rest are salary.
Rest are salaries, so you just have 1. So 9 in years, so there's 10. We got Mike part-time. You don't have him on here, do you?
Yep.
Oh, you do?
He's in the union.
Yep, you do have him on here. So 10,
Who's in the
This
union?
one you can take to 7. 'cause 2
Who are
of
the
them are
5 salaried?
There's
Dave, John, Troy.
totals, yeah.
I don't know what we do with Tony.
he would be a set, you'd have to count.
Yeah, just could include him
One
in.
less day
They're
a week.
both in the union.
I don't believe that Dave or John should be included.
What part-time do you have in there? I'm sorry?
Carrie's
What
part-time.
did you
Oh, sorry, we
But
can't.
she's going full-time.
Dave and John could be included.
Huh?
That would probably
Can
go
be.
into
Yeah, why
effect
not?
the second week of July.
And that would,
I couldn't,
Then she
I'm
would not
sorry.
be-
The grant, you
would
mean?
not be.
Cutting Tony
part of
will
it
miss
if-
his grant up.
She can be
Yeah.
a part-time.
When
but
your
she can't.
salary,
Yeah,
it's
it'd
not
only
like
be a-
time off, it's a pay cut.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can't hire, so Carrie can't go full-time now.
Right, if that's part of the, because she would not be eligible to go full-time under the plan unless the plan is modified. So.
So I
that's
guess
just
it boils
something-
down to, is it really,
Just a
Nobody wants free
consideration.
money is what it boils down to, so.
There's only
well,
one,
is it really worth it?
because you can't hire new employees under this either.
Jennifer, what about?
Isn't Scott doing
Okay,
an
so that's
interview
something
as
else.
this meeting's
Pardon?
going on?
My position as a probation officer hasn't been filled, and, well, it's been filled, but not till August.
So that would cause another issue for that.
Is it employer or is it in the plan? I think.
In the plan.
So-
Under the plan, if that employee is included in the plan, if your group is the courts, if you do a unit plan as the courts, per
Then
se.
you're right, so you can't hire in that plan,
Correct.
but you could have a plan separate from that. It's not, it doesn't go by employer, it goes by plan.
It goes by plan,
So the
correct.
courts, if we were not part of the plan, we would, yeah, so if you had it, but otherwise, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So but it would have no effect on any of the people that are down there, which is something that you would.
Right, we wouldn't even, if we didn't
So
figure
there
on
are
any of them.
So you would consider them all how many people did you say, 9?
The courts, we have 11.
Really?
11?
Get 11
So
total
those 11
employees?
people would be excluded. along with the other
If you
unions.
count that position that Brian's gonna be filling in August, yeah.
But I thought the plan doesn't have to be a whole group, it could be whoever you
No,
want.
it doesn't. It
Yeah.
could be-
No, I was
Could
just
do.
saying, I
Those
was,
two.
nobody said how the plans are gonna be set
Yeah.
up and.
Oh, I don't know
where
yet.
you're Going with that, if
Yeah.
you're taking a union, or if you're taking the courthouse, if you're taking all the elected appointed officials, obviously elected don't qualify, but appointed would. So depending on how you set up your plan, that was my only question, because now it's been identified so far in the union, there's 7 employees that would be qualified under that plan, supposedly, because 2 are not willing to participate or not be a part of it. So I don't know how you're gonna group that. That was my biggest question, was the plans and who's gonna set them up and how they're gonna be set up.
So, I mean, I don't want to be the bearer of the bad news, but if there's layoffs, real layoffs, it doesn't gonna matter, you know, whether you say, I just can't do
I'm
it.
not asking about layoffs, I'm asking about who's setting up these plans.
We'll get to that. I'm just getting at the
okay.
beginning here. I mean, so what you say is, well, we can't do that. We can't have layoffs.
I'm not saying that. All I asked was who was gonna set up the plans and what your intentions were.
So we're trying to advance this as an alternative to regular layoffs, an alternative that could be a reality next year. And this puts a potential of $50,000 into the general fund. As Carolyn said, there's a very likelihood that we're going to be down in a lot of revenue between now and the end of the year and going into next year. Would seem reasonable and smart to try and save some money now and get ready for what's coming.
Or have it happen anyways. Take the layoff, take the furlough now and still get laid off next year.
That's still a possibility. Yeah.
I'm not
There's no-
questioning that. I'm just looking, when you're talking about this, it was pretty important to have this in place as soon as possible. I just am looking at a few things, and my questions were, who's gonna set up the plan? Have you had any confirmation on how the CARE Act is going to be paying this money? And confirmation on that year-end billing?
So from what I understand is, there is no reimbursement. Employees receive their checks just as if they would under any unemployment. We have nothing, we are not billed, we aren't charged, we are not in any way held accountable, liable, or any such thing on any of these costs. They get it right from unemployment. So-
I'm talking about our responsibility when it says in the packet that we will be billed our regular bill at the end of the year.
But we don't have a regular bill.
We do have a regular bill if we pay it. If we pay someone unemployment, we get billed for it.
Yes,
But this is exempt from that. You heard Colin say that. There is no, employers are not billed for this unemployment
That's not
plan.
what he said, but in the fact sheet or in the information we got in that packet. that-
We would, if we were not an exempt, I mean, we would have a regular unemployment bill, but we don't.
If we use the unemployment system, we get a bill.
And for all intents and purposes, this program, we are not using the unemployment. This is subsidized through the federal government.
I
So we're
get
not
what you're
using
saying,
it.
But in the information, it says that we would be billed at the end of the year for the workshare program.
I don't think it says for the workshare program. I think it says for your regular unemployment costs.
Okay, well, that was.
You want me to call him? I can call him and find out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not what he said. That
I can't say one way or another, but I can go call him if you want.
It's little and it's in another bigger spot.
So, Adam, why don't you find out?
Got it right here.
It's on page 4 of the work share program, which.
Colin, you got his number?
It's in my phone.
Did anybody else hear that? Did he say that there is no cost to the county?
I
To the
understand
employer?
what you're saying, and I read the thing that says that there's no cost to the employer. But the money is coming from the Federal CARE Act, and
And the state
I'm just
combined.
curious how that money is going to be filtered through the state to cover our expenses that we have. That's my question, because it hasn't been clarified
But we're not,
How we're
that's
going
not
to
coming to us at all.
how we're gonna get credit for it. How it's gonna show up as a credit on our,
It's not.
it's just gonna be paid out of the blue and we're not gonna have to be accountable for it? Yes, we are.
No. If Erin gets a check, she's gonna get her unemployment check from Michigan Unemployment. She's
Correct.
gonna get
but if we
10% of 362
Correct.
plus $600.
And you filled out a form that said, give her whatever the money is.
Right.
$82
Right,
for unemployment.
Correct.
For the work share program, because that's what she's entitled to.
correct.
We have to account for that money. We, as a county, have to account for that money.
In what way?
It would be the monies that were paid on behalf of the county.
No, it's not.
Okay.
So that's the beauty of the program, is there is no employer cost.
There
Otherwise, it isn't profitable to do this. Otherwise, it would,
absolutely would be. If they're going to filter money from the federal government to cover our normally billed costs, like unemployment, but on the work share program, then I'm okay with that. But there is an accountability on our part.
so the only accountability will be every 2 weeks, you have to certify, did the employees actually not work those hours? There has to be a certification process. Other than that, you're not gonna,
I'll just.
Dan, did you lay off employees?
Until I get more confirmation.
Did you guys get billed any extra money for the layoffs?
Ours were different, but
Well, you have regular costs every month.
We were.
Yeah.
You're contributing.
Yeah, they have regular,
Yeah, we are reimbursing. Agencies will charge the unemployment account for the requested employer in the following manner. Reimbursing employee, such as we are not contributing. Benefits paid to workers under a work share plan will be charged on your billing statement. I don't know how much clearer that can be. Now, I do not believe we're going to be charged the dollars, but there will be I believe there's going to be a service charge, so to speak.
sure dollars. I'll ask the question. I mean, I've heard it, I don't know how many
I
times.
asked him to call.
Okay.
It just needs to be clarified.
Right.
That's all I'm asking for.
Well, I think the number one question, first of all, is that if we ever thinking about this, we have to have somebody that's gonna be the account master that's gonna be able to do this.
And there wasn't an affirmative on the sick vacation, or that wasn't clear. You could read it one way and one another say another thing. It just wouldn't take any time if that was a question.
And then there's the amount of time it's gonna take to do it.
To get it set up, and now it's not even
Will
end of July,
somebody be
it's
getting extra
mid-July,
hours
$600.
He said it was a part-time job. If they're already working their full-time job, how are they gonna fit in the new stuff? Plus 3 of the people in that office losing one day.
Mhm.
Clerk's office, out of 4.
I mean, if you're gonna try and include deputies, I mean, I've gotta say, I don't think that's gonna work for my office, or you're gonna have to anticipate there's gonna be days that the Register of Deeds office is not going to be open. I mean, you know, you don't know when illness is gonna arrive, people have, you know, vacations come up.
That was my question too, like, are we going to be shutting down, like, I know not every office can, but like for me, other than Tom, it's just me. Am I gonna shut down the office one day a week, or does he have to cover the office?
If there's layoffs, yes, we will be closing off.
But then
I would
there's
think.
the matter of what day. It's not one day works for every office.
Yeah.
And the courts are requiring that the building be open 5 days a week
There it
anyways.
is. There it is. Hi, Colin.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, we have a question.
Okay.
That's unclear. We as employers, are we gonna be billed for the unemployment at the end of the year?
So from what I've learned from individuals filing claims and listing you as an employer, they will not hike up your tax rate. You will not be dinged for claims. So whatever you're paying into the uninsurance fund now will not change. I think it's typically your tax.
We don't pay in. We're reimbursement.
Then no. Right at the beginning of this, we were told that because of COVID-19, employers would not be held accountable financially due to claims being filed because of the COVID-19 circumstances. I don't know when that stipulation runs off, though. I know right now, it isn't in effect right now. I don't know when that'll run out. I don't know if that's tied to the CARES Act timeline of mid-July, or I don't know if that's to the end of the year, like some other things are. But I know right now, employers do not have to be worried about getting dinged financially for that.
Okay, so once the CARES Act, once that's gone, then under the work share program, we would definitely get billed at the end of the year then, as standard
Don't know.
procedure.
Doesn't know.
If it's tied to that CARES Act, you very well could. That one I don't think I'm confident enough to say yes or no on, but I know when that CARES goes, a lot of things go with it.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a good question. That would probably be one you want to lead off with on Friday if you talk to your contact.
okay.
Not sure what that'll look like. I don't know if that's tied to the July CARES Act expiration or not.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything else for?
So what's the final answer?
No, we will not cost, it will cost us.
Right now,
nothing.
no, under the COVID Act,
Through
Under the
December?
CARES Act.
He said through the CARES Act.
Well-
through the CARES Act.
Which
Okay,
ends
all right.
Well, just a
Alright.
second. Now, he didn't say for sure. You don't know for sure, right, Colin?
I don't. From what I understand, we've been told that companies who have employees filing claims from their employer, they are not getting dinged like they normally would.
And we don't know when it'll end. I mean, that's a state program. So it could end in the end of July, or it could go on, I guess.
Right. You could be exempt from getting dinged financially in July, so in just a couple weeks, or you could be good until the end of the year, like some other things. So many stipulations have certain timelines that don't match. It's hard for me to say confidently.
The employers that have got involved with the work share program, and like you said, there was a big increase because of the $600 under the CARES Act. As you're feeling that most of these employees are going to get out of this program once that CARES Act is over with?
A week ago I would have told you yeah, but I just got off the phone with the optometrist office in Crawford County, who is the county's third work share company. They said they plan on doing this every year. Every year, if they run into a time where the budget calls for them to reduce hours, they're going to do this route. They're not going to go the individual unemployment route because it's so much easier on their workers. It's important to note this cannot be used for seasonal situations, though. So
Okay.
like Mackinac City Ferries can't do this every year, but from what I think now that employers know it and they're getting comfortable with it, they're like, heck, this is a benefit to our employees, so they don't have to sit on hold their whole life. We'll just take care of it on our end.
Yeah, so you could, even if you're reducing your workforce by 1 day a week in a budget crunch, you could go to this work share program instead of just straight unemployment and having.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a better option.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else? Thanks, Colin.
Thanks, Dan. Have a good one.
Yeah.
I'll read you we've spoken about Crawford County enough times here. So their plan, the main purpose of the program is to eliminate layoffs and allow employers to bring back employees at a reduction of hours until the need for additional hours is warranted. Campo said the circuit court is not expected to resume jury trials until August. He said the family court and district court will do some in-person hearings in July. 2 labor unions representing courthouse employees agreed to the program. The revised work schedule includes all court employees. The housing clerk and veterans clerk will work 2 days a week. Chief Register of Deeds deputy clerk, the 2 equalization clerks, housing director, and part-time secretary in the sheriff's office will work 3 days a week. Chief deputy treasurer and victims advocate will work 4 days a week. Confidential secretary for the prosecutor's office will work 3.5 days a week. Confidential secretary for the sheriff's office will work 4.5 days a week. These are all different plans. Legal secretary, maintenance director, building clerk, animal control officer, court administrator, and county administrator will work 4.5 days a week through July 25th. Those employees will be eligible for the $600 weekly payment through the Federal CARES Act. They will make more money than they would working their normal schedule, Campo said. Additionally, the days they are not working will provide budget relief. The undersheriff, jail administrator, and detective at the sheriff's office are not part of the program. So that's the Crawford County example of what's going on there.
That's a lot of different
I was
programs.
saying they have a lot more people.
Same size as us. They got a $5 million budget.
Unions and
They have a county administrator.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah, they got same budget as us.
They have a county administrator, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and an assistant to the county administrator.
Oh, so that's probably people that are handling,
Their assistant is doing the job.
Yeah,
Yep.
they got extra people there.
But as far as size, well, they're a county of 13,000 with a budget about 5 million. So pretty similar to us. So, any other comments, questions?
Sounds like we don't have enough information until we talk to,
So we talked to the
person on
unemployment
Friday.
lady,
8 o'clock, she's gonna call.
8:30.
8:30.
8:30.
Friday?
8:30 Friday morning.
I spoke with, I forget this stupid name.
Bob?
Down in Tawas, Bob down in Tawas at, Stevenson and Company. And, they talked about, they don't have any people in their current, who they do payroll right now that are doing this program. But, their payroll people who investigated it, who helped us before, he threw out a number of $150 to $200 a pay to help us out.
And they would do the
They
entire.
can't they can't sign us up. It's gotta be, but they could get the numbers together for the, what was it called? The Grandmaster, what was it?
master plan?
Grandmaster.
What was it? The administrator,
master.
whatever, yeah.
Account
Account
master.
master, yeah.
Some kind of master. Anyway, they could provide the data for them to submit when the account master has to submit it, but it'd be $300 per pay.
So they'd look at payroll, evaluate, and certify, and then get that to.
That's the understanding we had at a conversation on the phone, but I don't feel comfortable with that number until after I hear from what they have to say on Friday morning.
Okay.
So out of the 30,000, we get it down to 27 or 23 savings. If we save 30,000, we spent up 7,000 on
Grace, it would be 3,600.
30.
6.
Well,
Gotcha.
I thought that was 12 pays.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's if only this labor union is gonna do this, I guess.
Okay.
That's 26,000 for just your union.
Yeah, that was,
Minus 2 employees.
Hmm?
Minus 2 employees right off the bat.
All right. Any other?
My only comment that I would have is I feel the overwhelming opinion of the people involved outside of commissioners is they don't want to do it.
Gee, I get that sense too.
Which brings me to the next fact. I mean, I don't know. Saving money is saving money, whether it's $2,000 or $20,000 or $200,000. But, you know, because if we don't at least explore this, I'm going to get 10 calls from people who will usually call me once a year and say, hey, I heard that this county and that county and this and that were doing these to save money. Yeah, they did, but I didn't even bother looking into it. Well, that's why we're doing this here. We got to look into it. I still think it's worth talking to the person Friday, get more data on it.
Well, I think it's, you
And
know,
even if the 600, sorry, Dan, but even if the 600 week wears out, so be it.
Yeah.
You know, we already know we're not going to have money at the end of this year, and definitely not going to have money at the beginning of next year.
yeah, you know,
We
I really,
can't-
you know,
It's not like you go to taxpayers and go again, hey guys, we're really in trouble for real this time. We need this millage or no county anything. Well, that's, you know, there's some commissioners that have the opinion of if you don't pay it, you know, it's gone. But you still have to make an effort. I think you still have to make an effort to get what you can for your buck. You know, anyway, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
oh, that's good. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think if we've learned anything, first of all, there's work share programs out there. It's definitely a viable option if we have to get to that. Trying to rush into it to try to get a couple weeks of that 600 with Fourth of July next week, it might not just be possible because we need to research it, but I think moving forward and really get down to exactly what this is all about, what we can do, how it operates, is gonna give us definitely some options down the road.
Yeah, I mean, we have to honestly consider this for even when the 600 is up, because when you decide, we don't have money to pay anybody, this is gonna be a lot easier on all the employees to
Right,
at least get something.
right,
Because if you get the 362 a week,
right.
good luck, but here you can at least get 80% of your pay plus, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know this work share program existed, and it's been out for quite a few years.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was out there. So.
So I'm not ready to drop the ball, but to try to get something rolling by before the $600 dries up, that's not gonna
Well,
happen.
I think, I would like to suggest we reschedule another meeting for Friday morning.
I probably am not available Friday.
Pardon?
I probably am not available Friday.
Well,
We have a finance meeting at 9.
Well, we could just have the lady talking here
Yeah,
at 8:30 and
that's no problem.
informational.
Study session,
Study
doesn't have
session.
to be a,
well, but then if we want to do anything, well,
we
we
won't
not
be
gonna
ready
do
to move on
anything.
no, we
anything then
wouldn't,
anyway.
we could, and we can still initiate some things.
Study session Friday morning at 8:30.
What time's, we're at 9 though, right?
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna listen to her on the phone, ain't gonna be over a half hour on the phone.
All right.
Yep.
But, I think one thing too we learned about Crawford County is they have a administrator and assistant administrator, so they've got extra people in that county that were able to get onto this.
I mean, I'm looking at who you're gonna burden with running this, and is it really gonna be,
I don't think
Much
we
of
would.
a
I think because
benefit.
Adam and I talked, I think you'd just hire somebody to do it. And if it costs you a couple $1,000 to do it, it'll cost you $2 to save 50.
My math says
Uh,
that works.
I can have Bob try to come in Friday too.
still doesn't alleviate the problem we had at the
Well, I think
beginning of
maybe
2 years ago.
if you
where-
talk to that Bob, he needs to get like hold of Crawford County or something, figure out how they're all this is put together, so he has a lot better idea on what.
Well, that's why he might want to listen in on this information from the,
You might wanna find out how much.
And I'd like
work
to have
is-
us consider looking at a firm out of Alpena who maybe is doing this already.
I don't have any, this is a contact I had, so I have no
I'll see if
qualms about going
administrator
elsewhere.
from Crawford will send me their Excel certification sheet. Because I know what he's saying. I mean, from what Paul has said, it's busy the day of certification or the day before because you're getting all your payroll. I don't know what you're doing the other 5 days unless there's a problem, but that's the busy day and then the certification day.
Getting it all put together, I think.
Yeah.
Once it
Getting
gets
the
up and
plan
running,
to put it
once it
together.
gets up and
The
running.
initial plan,
Yeah.
that takes time, and then
Once accepted.
every 2 weeks when you certify, just like if you've ever been on unemployment, you gotta call,
Oh, yeah.
remember Norman?
Marvin,
Marvin,
Yeah.
call and certify.
Aaron has a
So-
question.
Oh, Marvin.
It also has to be said that, I know there's some morale issues about uncertainty, but it's everywhere. This is not just to us. Every business in the whole United States is having uncertainty right now, so I know you want comfort and words of wisdom and everything else, but the fact is, it's just gonna be uncomfortable for a little while. It's just what it's gonna be. And we're trying to find some options and make it impact a little less if we have to, so.
Aaron?
Couple things. The savings is slowly dwindling, and are we really gonna save enough to not to have layoffs? If I have to get a pay cut to save Brooke's job or Mike's job, okay, I'm willing to play ball for a little while. But, is it gonna work? And second of all, you gotta be careful hiring outside firms to do union work. That's, because you're gonna put me out of my job for a day.
But,
and you're gonna
You just said you can't do that
but you
job.
said you have your, okay.
This is a whole
Yeah.
new, something that's not being done.
I'm not
I
talking
Yeah.
don't see any problem with contract
Something
handling.
totally different.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is not routine work that's currently in progress.
Right.
Right.
This is a whole separate part-time job.
But this has involvement with it. Who signed up to do the unemployment right now? Who submits our unemployment information?
Right.
Kim just for the garnishment and the,
Everything else, she does the payroll and
I'm the administrator. on
she
that
is the
account.
administrator on the Alcona County's account, and so now you're talking about hiring someone to do that job that she is established at already, and that's part of her union position. Is just a thought to look at.
Do you want me to do some asking around in Alpena? Possible, okay.
Dave and I, who are on call 24/7.
What's that?
How
Are you-
does this
John, is that
work?
you talking?
It is. How does this work for Dave and I, who are on call 24/7?
I would exclude both of them. There's no way I could support.
Carolyn says she'd exclude both of you.
I mean, I'm more than happy to participate. I just don't see how that would work.
I don't know, I don't either.
Well, how does it work right now if you're working 24/7?
He just does.
I'm salaried.
Well, you'll still be salaried, just 4 days a week.
It's irrelevant that you're salaried. It's the fact that it's a 24/7 job in my book.
It'd just be a 10% pay cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get 10% less for doing 24/7. Actually, you wouldn't. You'd get $200 more.
Oh, if that's 600.
If the 600's there, you get $200 a week
Let's all
more.
forget about the 600.
I just wanted to say something too.
Yeah.
Not that it really makes a difference for me, but like our union hasn't voted on this, so I think that $600 thing is probably a big thing for some of the people that are gonna vote, whether they want this to go or not. So I think that that's something that we probably need to know if our union's gonna support it.
Yeah, and I don't think it is explained in the contract at all. The work share program is not talked about in any way, shape, or form. So I don't actually know what we do with that.
They don't vote on a layoff.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a say in a layoff. You have a say who you get to send out. I mean, if we need to lay off, we just lay off. That's it. So the work share is a little different. That's different on how it functions, and I don't know how.
There's guidelines for layoffs too. It spells it out pretty good in the contract.
Right, but if your contract, the way it talks is how, if we say we're laying off 3 people, you guys get to say how they get laid off, or who gets laid off.
It goes by
By
seniority.
seniority
Yeah,
and.
right.
But then there's issues with, okay, so let's say the lowest person got laid off, but then there's no one to do that job.
Right, bumping and all that's
certified
business.
Or whatever.
Right,
so
right,
there's
right,
a lot of
right.
issues with that.
But the point is, there's no voting on that. I mean, you guys, that's gonna happen.
Right.
And I don't know if there's gotta be a vote on this work share program.
No, but if I called Curtis and I said, nobody is,
Right, yeah, because we talked about a letter of understanding.
I would think we could have to go with whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know how it would, I mean, can we make you enter into a work share program? We can certainly make you take layoffs, but can we make you do the work share program? I don't know, because it isn't talked about in there.
I thought it was an agreement from the union, if the union was in agreement with the employer.
No, we were, out of respect for the union, I talked with both Aaron and Curtis, and whether or not, well, I think it does say in there, the unions have to agree.
Yes.
Yeah,
There has to be a letter of understanding.
Yeah, all the
which
unions,
means it requires my signature and Curtis's.
right.
If I've got
If I was
9
in-
grievances, I'm not signing it.
Here,
Well, there has to be a vote, right? You don't get to just decide for us, do you?
I don't know.
This is a whole separate meeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, it kind of lends to the conversation here, because I'm hearing, well, we're not going to do that, and we're not going to do that. Well, the end of the day is, I mean, if we don't do this, then we do the other one, and we know there's no options on that. You're just going to lose the person in your office. They're going to be gone because we can't afford them anymore. So that's the hard part of all this. We're trying to come up with something that's going to give everybody a little something here to keep going until the end, and that's what you and I had talked about.
Well, and I understand
Yeah.
that. I'm not speaking as Aaron, I'm speaking as union rep.
Right.
So, it's 2 different sides, but
And I think Dan is right. Even if there wasn't $600, this is a lot better than having to lay people
I agree.
off.
I wasn't saying that I
Yep.
don't agree with it, I'm just saying, that I
It
think
was more
that our-
incentive with the extra
Sure.
money to
I'm
get
just,
it through
my
the end
point
of the
was
year.
that I think that our union members have to vote to say what we want our union rep to
I think so.
decide.
Yeah, I think,
It has to be
That's
an
all I was
agreement.
saying.
yep, they gotta agree.
Agreement
Yeah.
With the collective union. Sorry.
Okay, I have a question.
35.
So if the union decides, okay, yes, we want to go with it, but like the clerk and the treasurer are co-employers, and they're like, no, I can't afford to have you guys not, who trumps? Does the
Don't know.
union or does the employer?
I don't know, because it's not even spelled out in the contract, what this work share program, how it,
If that plan is covered with 9 people and 2 participate, you're a covered plan.
Right.
So you have not, and that was my understanding of the reading of this. If you have a unit, you have to have at least 2 people in your plan
mhm.
that are participating. So if the union, Secretary's Union on its own is a 9-member plan, and you have 2 participants, does that not qualify?
But what if one of the departments, like the clerk's office, they have 2 people in our union?
Right.
And what if the department head doesn't want them to do it, but then our union votes yes? What happens there?
But where's the 2 people that, there was a few, like.
Well, I meant like the 2 people from the clerk's office, like
Right.
we voted as a majority that we, yes, as a union want to do it. But the clerk's office decides they don't want their 2 employees to
Right.
do it.
So she's saying that you vote as a majority, but not everybody's gonna participate.
Okay, so we don't all as a union have to
That's what I don't know how
participate.
you would,
That's what I'm asking.
that's the question.
And I don't know if we can force that to happen, like a layoff or not. If we say, no, this is what they are, I don't know.
That was my understanding, to design the plan to be.
Right, for each one.
Teamsters equalization,
Teamsters.
Teamsters.
Right, I know the union
Treasurer.
contract supersedes the personnel policy, so I don't know if that would
That's
be a similar whatever, but yeah, I don't know.
So if you have a union employee that wants to do it, but the employer does not want them to do it, they can still do it.
No. No, I don't think so.
So if the union votes yes, Cheryl says, I don't want Amy to do it, what does Amy do?
She wouldn't be able to. That's,
So if Troy's
She
against
would-
it, then we don't do.
no,
it.
because Troy is not,
Elected.
he's not a co-employer.
Oh, I see.
And I don't even know how the co-employer offices work, whether or not, if there's gotta be a layoff, in a regular layoff situation.
Elected officials.
The en-
Kim would have safety because she's got the most seniority in elected office. Amy's the only one, so she'd be safe.
My
And
prior
just start with part-timers and then lowest seniority.
Right.
My prior understanding is if they have not signed the union contract, they are not a voice.
Okay.
Over the years, that's been, because years ago, they used to sign the union contract. They were part of it.
So,
They cannot vote. They still have union representation, but they cannot vote.
she's talking about co-employers. She's talking about you as elected
Oh, I thought
officials.
you were talking about
Oh.
Teamsters.
No, elected officials.
No.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, so as far as your union, by the time we got up to maybe somebody in your office, it's gonna take a while anyway, because how many people gotta go?
I think Brooks at the bottom.
Yeah. Are you talking, she's talking about the work share program. You're talking about layoffs.
I'm talking about layoffs.
Is it the same rules? Do the same rules apply? That's all I'm asking.
We've never-
Can you say, hey,
Nobody's ever looked at the work share before.
Yeah.
Well, and also in the layoffs, if you have someone with a specific skill that is not held by anyone else, you can hold them back, or not back, but hold
they
on
get
to
bump
them.
rates or whatever?
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting union meeting, because if the group says we aren't doing that work share, that means you're gonna kick the low person out to the curb, because they're gonna take it the worst.
And I don't wanna cost anybody a job.
Yeah.
I'm willing to, lose a little to save somebody's job, but if it's not gonna save their job in the end anyway.
Right, and it's not that I'm against everything by any means either, but it's affecting, we're one of the busiest offices, it can't take a hit like that. There's no way. We can't keep up now.
Unless we all want pay cuts, then payroll doesn't need to come in.
Somebody's still gotta make the paycheck.
Well, no, we're all just gonna, just free these.
So this just is cut right to the bottom line. If we end up having to lay off September 1, you're gonna lose one person first, totally out of the office, because she's the lowest seniority. Well, and gone completely. Or do we go on a work share program where you only lose her 1 day a week? I mean, that's
how it works, huh?
I mean, I understand the seniority part, but as far as the position, I mean, that position doesn't get filled by somebody else from don't you have to look at where you can cut a position?
No.
Like, I understand it goes by seniority, I do, but.
Like, say if Mike gets cut because he's part-time, if he had more seniority than Beth, he could bump Beth. But if they're gonna cut his position,
That's what I mean, so you really look at the position and then the seniority can bump, right?
Bump the lowest out.
Not, you don't look at the person, whoever's the lowest seniority and their job is gone, right? That's all I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, according to the union contract.
Yeah.
The job is not necessarily gone.
That's what I'm.
Right, yeah, the job wouldn't be gone, but the person is.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm confused
So
too, if we're gonna do layoffs, if you're kind of, not threatening, but stating that there's gonna be possibly layoffs, but we have not made an effort to cut back expenditures, we haven't made an effort to stop giving raises and stuff, why would we lay off somebody? Why wouldn't we start that route, doing cuts in other areas besides laying off employees that are trying to do the job to keep the county running? We haven't made an effort to do anything else. We've been given raises, look at the courts. All those adjustments that are being made. Everybody got raises this year, 1%, 2%, whatever it is. There's been no cuts on expenditures. There has not been a freeze at all on expenditures. That's just my opinion, but
Yeah. Well, I would argue there is. I'd say that we have cut healthcare costs dramatically and put them onto the employees. Our healthcare costs have actually reduced in the last 5 years when everybody else is.
We'll have the numbers for you Friday.
What's that?
The savings that we've made or not made in regards
Well-
to healthcare. We're just crunching the numbers.
Is this another one of these gotchas?
no, it's a matter of just knowing you're saying it, but we don't really know. We
Well-
don't know what a number is. We don't know how much.
Well, when I pull up 2018 revenue and expenditure sheet, and it just gives me an amount that we spent on healthcare, and I pull up a 2015, and one number is lower than the other.
This isn't a gotcha game, this is a budgeting game. A budget that needs to be modified and looked into for 2020, and the expenditures and the revenues. So we're looking at a balanced budget with erroneous numbers in there, and we need to make sure that they're right. So we're working on that. Actually, that was one thing that you brought up, that we'll be working on Friday in finance.
So you're saying that we aren't paying less for healthcare?
We don't know. We're looking into it. We've been hearing that, but we don't know. And that's what finance is, we're meeting on Friday and we're trying to figure out the 2020 budget. And that's what one of the.
How about just for 2019? So 2019's healthcare is not less than it was in 2017.
That's what I'm saying. I'm working on it. Just started it yesterday.
So none of our
So no one really knows.
R&E expenditure reports for the last 5 years are valid. Is that what we're saying?
That's, what are you saying?
So if I pull up 2018's expenditures for healthcare and I compare them to 2015's, I can't do that because you're saying it's
Have
erroneous.
you taken in all the considerations for all the accounting of that, what it costs? Such as deductibles?
Absolutely. Yeah, deductible, HSA. Yeah.
Then we're looking at different numbers in different contexts
Okay.
for a few things. HRA deductible, not just for last year too, as well. Right.
Yeah. So I don't think we've had a huge reduction in our healthcare costs, but they haven't gone up. which is exactly,
That's what, but you just said we've had a big savings in the healthcare.
I didn't say big savings, but I said we've made savings in healthcare. See, this is ridiculous. I mean, you're having these gotcha things, and it's
Gotcha, it's facts on the piece of paper.
it is.
Trying to
It's,
figure out what we're saving, that's all. We're trying to figure out the budget.
so we've had double-digit healthcare cost increases, and we've been able to keep that less than single-digit increases to the county. That's a savings, right? I mean, we are paying the same for our healthcare this year as we did 4 or 5 years ago. Very few companies can claim that. Right?
I don't.
Well, unless the numbers don't mean anything, unless when I pull it up on here, I can say, well, I can't trust these
But
numbers.
it has to be factored in. Is the value equal?
Well, I wouldn't have said it if it wasn't. I mean, it's the total cost? Premium,
Talking about
healthcare?
Cost, I'm not talking about cost. Are you still getting the same number of apples for the same amount?
Oh,
or less?
is the plant? Oh, well, that's,
That makes a huge
yeah,
difference.
I mean, what are you gonna do with that?
Well, it makes a huge difference in the evaluation of it.
Well, it's just
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
taxable. If you take your taxable
No,
right now,
it isn't.
it's not gonna be the same. If you take, that's what I'm saying. You look at your taxable right now, it's not gonna be with July board coming up or tribunals coming up, so that your revenue's not gonna be the same as what you're saying here.
I want to answer Carolyn's question. So Carolyn, here's the answer to your question. And the reality is, it doesn't matter. Because what the question was, are we saving anything? The best way to save the most would be to offer no health care. Then we'd save a lot. So whatever the plan is what it is. And if we have to reduce the plan even more and more and more in order to save money for the county, that's what everybody's wanting us to do. What are you doing? Cutting. You got to cut more, cut more. Well, let's do it. Well, let's cut the healthcare plan. We'd save a lot of money doing the healthcare plan gone.
I don't think that's what anybody said. I think they said layoffs should be a last resort. I think that's what they said.
That's the whole point.
So, but,
You don't wanna lose jobs. It is-
yep.
it comes down.
So we've got to cut other things, and I feel like we have cut other things. And at the same time, I've sat in this room with most, not all of you, saying, oh, don't do that. Oh, we can't pay that much for our premium. Back when nobody was paying anything for premium. And everybody else in the whole world was paying a ton of premium. All I heard in this room was, this is ridiculous. Why should we have to pay all this?
I'm not aware of all that stuff that's kind of going on, because I'm the one that's not coming in at least, but from what I'm understanding is what I'm gathering is that you're giving raises to people. Healthcare, I know you're cutting or doing whatever you have to do, but what they're saying is that you're giving raises out.
Yeah, and we did. We negotiated, and I was one of the
I'm on the outside, kind of looking into this, so I don't really know, but if I'm listening to what they're saying you're giving this person this dollar raise and you're giving this person this dollar raise. I mean, I've been here for a lot of years too, and I've talked to you. I'm not one complaining, I'm a team player. You go check directors out, I'm not complaining. But it's what they're saying is you're giving raises here, you're giving raises there, and they're saying don't do that because we're trying to save.
And to be honest, some places, we don't want to give raises that they're gonna do it anyways.
Well, that's what I'm just saying, that's why.
I'm just saying there's also that one too.
I mean, cause I live in Elkhorn County, I hear 20 million things, somebody's getting this raise and somebody's, what do I tell them? I don't know, you guys gave them the raise, I guess. I mean, that's what you hear, you're in Elkhorn County, I mean, that's what I hear. And so, I mean, that's what they're here. I mean, I don't know how you justify it and I don't care, I mean, I got a department to run and that's what I do.
Is it a fair statement, a reasonable statement, to say that one group pre-scheduled, or an entity a unit has pre-scheduled by 3 years a raise for 2020?
Yeah.
Okay. So the people that weren't in a position to pre-schedule a raise, should they just not get anything?
Depends on your financial situation.
An increase?
If we can't afford it, how can you give it?
And that's fair position.
And that, I'm just saying what I'm hearing. and that's what I'm hearing, and
I just hate to see somebody lose a job, you know, when you're saying Brooke might not even be in there in September or something, I hate to see her lose her job when maybe there was.
Well,
I know.
and then we turn around, we have the situation that we have across the street where our pay is low right now, relatively, when you compare it with others. And our retirement is what causes us to train people, have them stick around for a year or two and leave because they have a better offer and a better retirement plan someplace else.
Which I'll add to what you said, and I said in several union meetings in this building and set with the department heads here, that if I don't, you know, if I'm not making enough money, I'm gone. I'm not doing this job for this amount. I'm not gonna do that.
That's not me, I guess, I've been here too long.
Well,
So-
there's gotta be a benefit to working here, and to
Right,
me.
so this board has
Yeah,
tried to accommodate that and give minimal amount of raises to keep things, so I tell you what, when you know what I come in with, trying for you guys, and everything was zeros across the board.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear anybody saying, no, we'll take the zero.
We did the year before.
You did. I will tell you that, you guys did. And I don't hear anybody else going, yeah, you know, we don't want any raises. We'd rather that everybody keeps their jobs. I mean, does anybody else hear that when they were?
You know, if you said that, hey, if you take this raise, we're gonna start laying people off, we would say, no, it's okay, we don't need the raise, I think that
You know,
that was that way.
If I could say,
Doesn't work that way,
one thing,
Shape.
you know, I've only been here 2.5 years. We can sit here against all ourselves, but we're not against ourselves. We're trying to keep everybody in here. I want everybody to stay a job and all that. But we're wasting our breath talking to us or anybody else. You have to talk to the citizens out there. Our revenue stream has not went up since '07. We're arguing about stuff, and yet we go out and talk to our taxpayers, and we can't tell them that they got to pay more money, or this place doesn't exist. I can't understand it. 1995, EMS went from 1%, 1 mil. In 95, it has not changed in 25 years. How can they not have money now? And it's the same in 25 years? It's the same with our revenue, it's the same with everybody. And yet we get into these conversations here, and we're like getting against each other, and it's not against each other. You do not have money to operate. End of story. That's what you have to tell your taxpayer. We cannot, and we're not gonna be able to, it's not a threat, it's coming to a
But
head.
It's
coming to a head right now.
When I went to that, what was it, 2-3 years ago, where they had the meetings on the millages?
Yeah.
And this is the question I have for taxpayers, and I can't tell them, because I sat in there and listened to everybody on there. And Craig and Adam did a great job, I thought, on theirs, and 9-1. Whoever was in charge at that time, when they were speaking, said everything was going good in the EMS. So what am I supposed to tell them?
It does,
I get
that's just an example, but you know exactly where we're at, our revenue stream. How can your house operate in the same amount of money in the last 15 years? It wouldn't.
I'm saying we're on the same page, but it's what I'm saying, when we had this meeting with all the millages and that, whoever was getting up there was talking, was all hunky-dory and everything was going good in EMS.
Well-
What happened in the time period?
Actually, what I noticed is that 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, when I first came on, there was 3 millages. The EMS, the library, and the senior center. And all 3 of them, I went to all the board meetings after the millages passed, and with 2 months, all 3 of them said, we're not gonna have enough money to operate in the next 2 years. They didn't have the faintest idea what they were going for. They just went for 1 mil, and they brought it to us, and I'm new on the board, but none of us even looked at the numbers. None of us looked at the numbers and said, your numbers are not gonna work. None of us did. I guess that's our own fault, but I think honestly, the numbers haven't been looked at in this place for 10 or 15 years.
I agree with what you're saying.
They haven't been. It's impossible.
When he got, whoever it was, I can't remember who it was, but whoever
Doesn't
it was
matter.
that got on there, right.
It doesn't matter.
Should have been looking at it, maybe.
I mean, I sat in all 3 of the meetings, and it wasn't 2 months later.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have enough money for the next 2
But
years.
that's what you're saying, you say we gotta go to the taxpayers.
Who
And
else-
it's
where
hard-
else are we gonna get our revenue?
It's hard to just like you said, 3
Where,
years ago.
where else is the revenue gonna come from to operate this building?
I agree with you.
It's not gonna. It's not gonna unless our taxpayers pay more
I'm
money.
not gonna, I mean,
And that's end of story. And it's not a lot of money.
I just wanted to say, you know, your spiel that you just said about how we need to bring in more revenue. I did explain that a couple years ago to people who asked me, and they were asking me, well, why is no one broadcasting that? I don't think they felt that it was broadcast that way, but the people that I talked to and, you know, put that respect, I mean, they were like, well, why don't they just say it that way?
Well, let me.
So I don't know, I mean, I think there's some misconception.
I can
but
answer.
It makes a big.
I can answer that question, and you should know just as well as anybody else. I go to 3 meetings a month. You know who's at township meetings? Your township board, and in my case, District 5 now has a commissioner that goes to the township meetings. But nobody else goes. We had the thing at the school. I mean, when I counted the audience, I knew half the people because they work here. I mean, there's a, you know, I understand your point. They say we don't get it out, but nobody looks for it either.
Well,
It's a hard sell.
I mean, I'm
just saying, people did approach me and I did explain it that way and they were like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't think they realize, they don't realize.
Yep. Well, and.
Which is partly, they should be knowledgeable when they're going to the polls, they should be asking questions, but
that's another issue.
people don't.
I held coffees at the Red Rooster, free coffee, for almost 2 months, every Thursday morning. I was there at 9 o'clock, I was there at 8:30. I had 2 people come in. One came in because they knew I would be there. The other person actually came in because they were curious. That's it. 7 weeks, it wasn't full 8 weeks, 7 weeks.
You know, here's my opinion of this is that, I mean, us 5 get to sit here at this table, and we've got a county full of people who don't want to pay any more taxes, and a building full of people who want to make sure they get paid a little bit more each year. It doesn't work.
Which is okay.
No, and the public doesn't come
Yeah,
to
it
the
does.
meeting.
Yeah.
Public does not come.
I mean, but I mean, it wouldn't matter. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but I mean, in my district it may, because Harrisville Township's one of the lowest. They are the lowest.
The public comes when we cut trees.
They don't want to. Nobody wants to pay more taxes.
Well,
nobody wants to do that. I mean, that's just the way it is. Why do you think these people didn't? I mean, you're being, I don't know, nice about it, but nobody asked for any more millage because they're afraid to ask for any more millage because you might not get anything. So you just don't ask. We'll just try to keep it the same as it is.
Well, then the only thing I'll answer that, I agree, I understand, we all know the problem is, but being afraid and all that, you can't have that anymore, because otherwise it's gonna put us right down to nothing.
Yeah.
We're almost out now, and we're trying to save money as best we can. You gotta get these raises, I understand it, but you know what? That 2% raise, put that all together and what it costs this county a year. It doesn't make up the $300,000 or $400,000 deficit, I can tell you that. That's peanuts compared to where we're at and the lack of money we're getting and where we're going.
And I'm trying to talk them into doing another millage in November, because
And there, you know what, and Carolyn mentioned to me the other day, we should do a millage in November? I said, hell yeah. But this is just as much problem as anybody else. It's only 4 months away.
Yeah.
This should have started 2 years ago. It should have started. You know, all this, and that's where I can see where everybody's at, but it's come to a head. There is no doubt about it. And I mean, we had a finance meeting, and Adam and I were gonna try to get on this with Cheryl and get this exactly where we're at, so I can answer all those questions correctly. But I'm telling you, it's not a good thing. And it's gonna get to the point, are we gonna even have money, a borrowing power to go borrow money from a bank if we have to? That's where it's gonna come. Then maybe it's gonna be like the school systems where they have to shut everything down because nobody passed the millage and it took 3 years for people to finally understand. But then when that happens, we lose positions here. You try to bring people back in 2 years, they're not gonna be paying enough more in taxes because you're gonna be paying a lot more in wages. So it's a no-win situation, but if we're behind the gun, I can tell you that. That's my opinion. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff we wanna get out.
I mean, the taxable, like I said, though, isn't catching up. Taxable is creeping upward, but it's not creeping up where we want it to creep up. I mean, sure, she's got deeds coming in pretty good probably, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, things are selling and, I mean,
But it's.
but not in the amount where we need it.
And we live in a county where there's not a lot of growth. I mean, there's no big factories, there's not gonna be any big factories. You know, there's not gonna be somebody come and build a $100 billion hospital here. It's just ain't gonna happen. So we
Not in
have
our
to,
lifetime, Dan.
not, you know,
Not in our
So-
children's lifetime.
This is kind of stupid, but the $4 generals that went in,
Mhm.
everybody fought every single one of them.
$4 generals.
yeah, that's stores.
Yeah.
Stores.
Oh, the Dollar Generals,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Hubbard Lake fought it,
yeah,
Lincoln fought it, Harrisville fought it.
yeah.
People fought it. But if you look at just the county money, the county's gonna get $5,000 in tax
Oh.
for that
A piece
So-
or,
altogether,
oh,
roughly. So it's like,
Yeah.
the people are gonna argue regardless, so.
Yeah,
I guess I tell a lot of people, you want it nice and quiet and peaceful, you can have it, but it costs just as much money if you're in a big place. That's all it is. It's gonna cost you money to have that. And we're not talking a lot. If we got $100 more per taxpayer out of here, we'd be in pretty damn good shape for quite a while. I think everybody's on the point now, watching your expenditures, watching everything. Raises are gonna continue to happen. We cannot ask our employees to work for less money where they can go somewhere else.
Well, that, and do you want somebody that has your social security number to be making minimum wage?
so we made
I
all those
know.
arguments, I made all of them, and to you, Sheila, I've had plenty of people come to me and say, those people make too much money. You should be cutting their pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're assuming that they know what you make.
When I tell them that you're, when I tell them they
me
make
that they've
$16 an hour, they think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nobody should be making, no, they're not doing, you
At
think,
35 hours a week.
yeah?
Yeah, yeah, that's another thing, 35, it's not 40, yep. So there's,
Yeah, well, and I'll argue till I'm blue in the face that, no, you don't understand. The same thing you said, we need qualified people to handle your social security number, to handle your property, to make sure your taxes are paid.
oh, I agree.
And that's what we fought for, to try to make that happen. What you're telling us is that maybe we shouldn't be doing that. We should keep the raises to a minimum.
No, we're saying we don't want layoffs.
Well, I don't either.
Like, you're putting words
I don't want layoffs. I don't want I don't want to have to take away raises.
If it's not gonna cost
Somebody
Their
there's
somebody
That
their
was the
job,
whole point, is
you
we
know.
didn't want to see someone lose their job. That was the.
Well, I think,
if we have to go without
And it
raises for a
went-
little
I
bit,
think we're
then
beyond
yeah.
that point right now. I mean, we are beyond that right now because the revenue stream is not increasing. And everything's going up. We know we're gonna lose more money again this year. We're actually past that point right now. We can't even argue that point anymore. I mean, we're behind it.
plus we've got delayed taxes.
And I'm pretty sure that the comment was made to me. I don't know if I wasn't made in one of the union ones that I did. I know Carolyn has heard it. When we've gone to the unions, I don't know if it was in your union, and said, if you don't give up the pay raises, you're gonna have to have layoffs. And what was the answer, Carolyn?
I said in union negotiations a few years ago, quite a few years ago, actually. And had we paid what they want, the percentage that they wanted, we literally, the budget for that department would have been done, the payroll section of the budget would have been done in August. And we said, we would have to lay almost all of you off in August. They said, that's fine, lay us off in August, but give us the money now in January.
And if I'd have said that in any of our talks, if I'd have said, look, don't take the pay raise, let's just do 0%, and that way we won't have to lay you off in 2 years.
Which is why
We
we
never
did
know
that
if
that year.
we never know if it's just a threat or if it's actually coming though, that's the problem.
Yeah, well,
you know?
so here it is. I mean, that's,
Well, wait a
I mean,
minute,
how do you know? You can't read the future, you can't read the tea leaves. I mean, that's,
I know, but it
are
seems
you
like-
saying that we were bargaining in bad faith here?
No,
I don't think she's saying.
I'm not saying that.
Okay,
I'm saying,
I'm
because
just-
I've been here, layoffs are talked about every year, and are we supposed to just keep saying we don't wanna raise because you mentioned layoffs, that's all.
No,
I would rather not have a raise and see one of my fellow employees not get laid off. but that's just me. That's maybe not everybody, but.
Well, I think if we're doing everything to cut expenditures, everything
Well,
possible cut expenditures, then that helps offset that problem. You know what I'm saying? Then it makes more sense. Hey, we can't cut expenditures any farther. And I personally believe there's been a lot cut in 2 years. You know, and if we are cutting expenditures to the best of our ability and there's really no more room to cut, then a wage freeze would definitely help instead of layoffs. I don't want to see one person gone out of here. I want to see our taxpayers pay more as far as I'm concerned. I don't want one person to leave this place. Because that's not the answer. It's not the answer. But, you know, how are we gonna get that? I mean.
2/3 to 3/4 of the money that is spent of the general fund is spent on payroll and the other things, workers' comp, all the, you know, retirement, all of those kinds of things. And so really, it's not a matter of, oh, she bought an extra ream of paper. That is so insignificant in the real big picture. Although that's important, that we don't buy things we don't need or that we can do without. But you gotta print a tax bill on something. You gotta take, you know, make a copy of a registered deed. You know, you've got to write on your property descriptions and so on. You've gotta have paper to put them on. You gotta have ink to print them with. So those costs are there. And I think one of the other things, I don't know about the other 4 of you, but in my household, there's costs that have gone up. You have those same costs going up the same amount. So to say, oh, you don't need a raise, that's not necessarily true. You have costs that are elevating, and we need to help provide you with the tools to meet those costs.
I'm not arguing a raise by any means.
Well, you know,
But if I don't have the money to pay for my cable bill, I'm not gonna order extra channels.
Oh,
You know
heavens
what I
no.
mean? So,
Heavens no. But, you know, I mean, but you've got basic, you know, light bills and food, my God, you know, I mean, that's gone up, and especially now after this COVID thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to argue a little bit from the worker side of it. I think we did cut raises, and we cut raises by charging you more for your health care.
Yeah.
So your raises disappeared in order to pay for your increased cost on health care.
Which happens to everybody else in their jobs.
Yeah, but
I mean,
so
new lifetime.
we traded money on that. Not to mention that we kept our plan fairly reasonable. So yeah, raises. I mean, there has been cuts, and employees have felt it, and I just don't want to do anymore. So this was a plan to try to not have to lay somebody off or 2 people off.
I mean, I think, for me, it makes a difference I mean, I know it sounds like it is coming, the layoffs, and I think if we knew for sure that those layoffs are going to happen, I mean, that'd make a big difference with my vote on the furlough day, so, you know, I don't know.
Well,
So I think that makes a big difference with the vote with the union and everything too, because especially because it'd be one of our union members that would be laid off, you know.
Well, I think that's exactly why we're meeting once a week with finance, and we're gonna have those answers as fast as we can to really know where we're at and where we're going by the end of this year. There's some things we're not gonna know, because not gonna know what can be cut, but that's my goal. And I think Cheryl, Stephanie, Sheila, Adam, I think that's everybody's goal, is to get right, so we can answer that, you know, and what needs, how much money can this whole building, how much money can be, what can we reduce to get this is the money we need to reduce, what are our options to get to that point?
That was my point when I was saying just crunch the numbers, you know, that was my whole point, is just crunch the numbers and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So is it worth it to save any money?
Well, hell yeah.
I mean, if we save $40,000, you guys continue to get the same money you got, and we save money here. That only helps. That only helps.
I agree.
But in our case, equalization, I mean, we got field work to do.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's an issue every single department has. I mean, there's one of me and I have 3 different jobs. 2 of them that are grant work that I have to be on time and report and everything, so, you know, that's an issue too. I mean, obviously, but,
All the grant
you know, if
monies.
you're looking at layoffs, then,
It's gotta be
I
done.
don't know.
Well, and the important thing to remember on those grant things, if they're not done, you're
Right.
gonna lose the revenue.
Right, grants,
2/3 of my pay.
definitely,
Yeah, so it's,
Grants are, yeah.
Well, if I don't get my job done, I'm sure you'll
Priorities, but
definitely
not
be
what the
here.
other things
And it won't be me.
I know.
Right? I mean.
Well, and then Lauren's certified, so even if both of us could go do field work and get it done on time, then you're in the office by yourself, and then we get slack for, well, he didn't answer the phone. Well, he's probably on the phone, or, you know, it's no
I know,
win.
it's a no-win. But,
We appreciate what you're doing. At least I do. I don't know what the rest of it. I'm just gonna become a farmer.
Oh, that's a dream job there. That's a dream.
It's all the money you got rolling in.
Marijuana.
yeah, marijuana. All right, so Friday at 8:30?
Friday at 8:30, the board's go, that's the work session, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Had to get my own little, temp my thermostat open just a hair.
I did the invoices, so.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
Got
Missy.
A couple of things we can talk about, we can do it Friday.
Thank you.
Meeting.
All right.
It's no fun.
Couple things
Well,
that come up.
no, it's not any fun. I mean, honest, well, it's a tough decision.
Yeah?
Anything?
But I mean, I mean,
No, I'm good.
and I can tell you right now
Do you have
that
a chance
if
to
it comes,
even
if
flirt
it
with that,
happens, my employee
that's
isn't
on
gonna be
stuff
happy
with
about
the,
it, but, I mean, what,
Credit card?
But, I
However-
mean, yeah, the work share thing is.
No,
I mean,
we
it's-
should find it.
right,
Let's ask
but,
Craig about
I mean, what, that's really not gonna be a savings, I mean, it's
I
a
think we
savings for
just
the
do it.
county, but for the
Let's just change
employee,
it to that.
No, you'd lose a
If
little bit of
this-
money if
you
we didn't
would.
have the $600 thing.
Correct.
Write the numbers.
So that was our hope, was to get it in there
Yeah.
until, so it would, if we do the end of the year, we'd offset any
Right.
losses.
right, yeah, because,
If you just
I
got
mean, I'm not sure. I mean,
$1,800 extra in the 600s, that covers what you're gonna lose through the end of the year.
Even if it doesn't, at least you did something.
Yeah,